happiness is the greatest hiding place for despair. Wherever there is a crowd, there is untruth. The most common form of despair is not being who you are. To cheat oneself out of love is the most terrible deception. It is an eternal loss for which there is no reparation, either in time or in eternity. God creates everything out of nothing, and everything which God is to use, He first reduces to nothing. The deepest form of despair is to choose to be another than himself. Once you are born in this world, you're old enough to die. One can advise comfortably from a safe port. What if everything in the world were a misunderstanding? What if laughter were really tears? For without risk there is no faith, and the greater the risk, the greater the faith. People settle for a level of despair they can tolerate and call it happiness. The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. Are you not aware that there comes a midnight hour when everyone must unmask? The minority is always stronger than the majority because the minority is generally formed by those who really have an opinion. It is not where we breathe, but where we love, that we live. A man prayed, and at first he thought that prayer was talking, but he became more and more quiet until in the end he realized prayer is listening. It is not the path which is the difficulty, rather it is the difficulty which is the path. Love is the expression of the one who loves, not of the one who is loved. Those who think they can love only the people they prefer do not love at all. Love discovers truths about individuals that others cannot see. I found I had less and less to say until finally I became silent and began to listen. I discovered in the silence the voice of God. There are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true. The other is to refuse to believe what is true. It seems essential in relationships and all tasks that we concentrate only on what is most significant and important. Old age realizes the dreams of youth. Look at Dean Swift. In his youth, he built an asylum for the insane. In his old age, he was himself an inmate. There are, as is known, insects that die in the moment of fertilization. So it is with all joy. Life's highest, most splendid moment of enjoyment is accompanied by death. Faith is the highest passion in a human being. Many in every generation may not come that far, but none comes further. The truth is lived before it is understood. It must be fought for, tested, and appropriated. Truth is the way. Anyone will easily understand it if he just gives himself to it. To be a woman is something so strange, so confusing, and so complicated that only a woman could put up with it. A genius may perhaps be a century ahead of his age and hence stands there as a paradox, but in the end, the race will assimilate what was once a paradox, so it is no longer paradoxical. Confidence is the present tense of hope. The unhappy person is never present to themselves because they always live in the past or the future. Since my earliest childhood, a barb of sorrow has lodged in my heart. As long as it stays, I am ironic. If it is pulled out, I shall die. I begin with the principle that all men are bores. Surely no one will prove himself so great a bore as to contradict me in this. Personality is only ripe when a man has made the truth his own. The truth is a snare. You cannot have it without being caught. You cannot have the truth in such a way that you catch it, but only in such a way that it catches you. It belongs to the imperfection of everything human that man can only attain his desire by passing through its opposite. Love is all, it gives all, and it takes all. Boredom is the root of all evil, the despairing refusal to be oneself. The highest and most beautiful things in life are not to be heard about, nor read about, nor seen, but, if one will, are to be lived. Patience is necessary, and one cannot reap immediately where one has sown. I see it all perfectly. There are two possible situations. One can either do this or that. My honest opinion and my friendly advice is this: do it or do not do it. You will regret both. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Our life always expresses the result of our dominant thoughts. To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself. The tyrant dies and his rule is over. The martyr dies and his rule begins. Don't forget to love yourself. Be that self which one truly is. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Because of its tremendous solemnity, death is the light in which great passions, both good and bad, become transparent, no longer limited by outward appearances. Marriage brings one into fatal connection with custom and traditions and customs are like the wind and weather, altogether incalculable. It is so hard to believe because it is so hard to obey. Far from idleness being the root of all evil, it is rather the only true good. During the first period of a man's life, the greatest danger is not to take the risk. It was completely fruitless to quarrel with the world, whereas the quarrel with oneself was occasionally fruitful, and always, she had to admit, interesting. At the bottom of enmity between strangers lies indifference. Most men pursue pleasure with such breathless haste that they hurry past it. Once you label me, you negate me. How absurd men are. They never use the liberties they have. They demand those they do not have. They have freedom of thought. They demand freedom of speech. A man who is a physical being is always turned toward the outside, thinking that his happiness lies outside him, finally turns inward and discovers that the source is within him. Trouble is the common denominator of living. It is the great equalizer. Love does not alter the beloved, it alters itself. There is nothing with which every man is so afraid as getting to know how enormously much he is capable of doing and becoming. Purity of heart is to will one thing. The function of prayer is not to influence God, but rather to change the nature of the one who prays. Take away paradox from the thinker and you have a professor. Face the facts of being what you are, for that is what changes what you are. Life has its own hidden forces which you can only discover by living. Which of the quotes do you like the most? Please leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.